Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome back to the Week 2 edition of The Blitz. It's a weekly video production courtesy of AM 930 and FM 100.3 WEOL, as well as the Chronicle Telegram. Tim Alcorn, Matt Douglas from the radio station, Bruce Bishop from the Chronicle Telegram, handling all the audio and the video aspects of the program. So great to have you with us. We had some outstanding numbers for Week 1 as far as viewership, so we thank you for that. Spread the word, and here we go as far as Week 2 is concerned. And Matt, speaking of Week 2 high school football-wise in Lorraine County saw an uptick for Lorraine County. It was a disappointing 5-11 in Week 1. County bounces back last week, over 500, 9-7. So not sterling, but certainly a lot better than that 5-11 mark as far as Week 1 was concerned.
Sure, some big bounce-back games, I think, for teams. Keystone was a team that took a loss in week number 1 to Bay. They bounced back. They get a big victory over Cloverleaf this week, coming back in that final quarter of play. Avon Lake's another one. Tested themselves against Avon in Week 1. Lost by 1. This time they took on a tremendous Clinton Massey team down at the University of Findlay. And they won by 1 this week. So they're even with their opponents if you look at score differential.
Yeah, those were a couple of big bounce-back wins. So hats off to the Wildcats and their head coach, Don Griswold. And, of course, over at Avon Lake, Matt Kostelnik does a great job with the Shoreman program. Now, it's interesting as we start the year. Now, we're only 2 games in. Still a lot of football to be played. But right now there are 5 teams in Lorraine County that have gotten off to that real good 2-0 start. So they have somewhat of a head of steam. Flip side of the coin, 7 teams are 0-2. So there are 7 squads out there still looking for that first win with Week 3 this weekend. And there are 4 teams with that 1-1 mark like Keystone and Avon Lake. So 4 teams at 1-1, 5 at 2-0. So they want to keep the good things happening. But, boy, 7 teams that are 0-2.
Yeah, but we're going to see some teams, I think, bounce back from that. Columbia is a team that always tests themselves with the out-of-conference schedule. No different this year. Took on a very good Independence team in week number 1. Last week, I really thought they'd struggle with Waydale. The Golden Bears only able to put 7 up on them. Now, Columbia was unable to get on the scoreboard. But they'll turn things around as the season goes on. Vermilion, I think, is a team that's going to pick up some victories as the year goes on. And Firelands, I think the more they play, I think the better they're going to get. Took a tough loss to a very big Amherst team. Just couldn't seem to figure it out in that game. But they're going to get some victories here as the season goes on, too.
I would agree with you. Well, speaking of teams, each and every week during the Blitz, we like to bring you our Team of the Week. And it's brought to you by First Federal Savings of Lorraine. So, Matt, you and I, we kind of went through the results last week. As we said, the county went 9-7. But we thought there was one team that perhaps really deserved that First Federal Savings of Lorraine Team of the Week. From right here in Illyria, the Pioneers of Illyria High School. Now, they won by 1 point over Bedford, 7-6. Illyria now one of those teams that's 1-1 on the year. But when you haven't won a high school football game since 2017, and you only won 1 that year, and then last year you're winless, boy, it has to feel good for Devlin Culliver, the new first-year head coach over at Illyria, and the entire program. They got that first win of 2019. They actually played Midview very, very well in Week 1. I think they thought they let that one get away. But, boy, hats off to Illyria. What a great feeling to get that first win, not only for 2019, but at the brand-new football facility.
Yeah, I think that's one is really cool. They get that first victory at the new stadium. But I think the other thing is under new head coach Devlin Culliver being so close in Week 1 and playing a very good Midview Middies team who's now 2-0. You just miss out on that victory. This is a good Bedford team, too. They played as well.
Yep.
Look, anyone you play in that Lake Erie League is going to come. They're going to bring it. That's exactly what Bedford did. And the defense stood strong in that game. They were able to claim that victory and get that 7-6 win. Not a high-scoring game, but, hey, on the wins and losses marks, it's a win. It means just as much as every other win out there.
And, of course, upcoming for Illyria this week, their big rival game as they take on Lorraine. We'll talk about that a little bit later on during the Blitz. But, again, congratulations goes out. Illyria High, our First Federal Savings of Lorraine Team of the Week. Congratulations to the Pioneers.
Well deserved.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about Illyria being the Team of the Week, but one thing that Matt and I are going to start doing each and every week during our Blitz segment is talk about individual standouts. We're each going to have 2 players that we thought kind of stood out the week before, so we'll call it our top 2 for from these two. So, Matt, I'm going to let you start. So, Matt's top two performances from week 2.
All right, not a problem, Tim. There's a lot of names that I had to search through before I came to these decisions, but one was an outstanding performance. Keystone Wildcats on the verge of starting the season 0-2, trailed by 2 touchdowns going into the fourth quarter in the span of 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Their quarterback, Jacob Shackelford, ran for 2 touchdowns, threw in a 2-point conversion, and, oh, by the way, had a pick 6 to help the Keystone Wildcats win that game. So he's certainly one of the top 2 in my book. And then I'm going to go to Illyria Catholic. Stephen Nevelinsky, the quarterback there, struggled a little bit in that first game against Perkins. This time around, he came out. He was airing the ball out, threw for 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a big victory over Parma, one that ended a little early due to light, so his numbers could have been a little higher. But a good victory in the Great Lakes Conference for the Panthers, led by their starting quarterback, Stephen Nevelinsky. So those are my top 2, Tim.
That's the night that the lights went out at Knights of Columbus Field.
There you go. Someone should write a song about that.
Boom, boom, out go the lights. That's another one.
Good one, too.
All right, my top 2 performances from week 2, the game we had on WEOL, AM 930, and again, FM 100.3. It was Avon at Lorraine. And, of course, Avon has a new quarterback this year, Danny Zay. As Avon head coach Mike Elder has mentioned, though, Danny Zay has earned his opportunity to play after sitting behind Ryan Malloy the past couple of seasons. He had somewhat of a solid start in week 1. They really didn't put him in a lot of risky situations in their contest against Avon Lake. But Mike Elder allowed Danny Zay to open it up a little bit more in week 2 against Lorraine High. And boy, Avon responded. A 52-point performance by the Avon Eagles. And it was senior quarterback Danny Zay that led the way. He was 15 of 28 for 216 yards. He threw 3 touchdown passes, was not intercepted against a very good Lorraine secondary. So Danny Zay, you're going to see him get better and better and better as the year moves along, but he had a real eye-opening performance last Friday.
Yeah, Coach Elder is really sang his praises this year, and as you mentioned, I mean, a strong performance in week 1 in a close game with Avon Lake, and then to do what he did in week number 2 against a good Lorraine secondary, very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, over at Amherst, they were talking throughout the offseason, and I'm sure during the scrimmages and so forth, well, how do we replace Kennedy Scagliozzo? How do we get that yardage and those touchdowns and some of the things that he was able to do? Well, last Friday night, Amherst really took apart Firelands, and the big guy for the Amherst Comets was Torrey Witherspoon. Torrey, you're my second kind of big game performance. Torrey Witherspoon for the Amherst Comets on Friday night, 19 carries, 126 yards, 3 touchdowns. So again, Torrey Witherspoon saying, you know what? I can do some damage with the football as well.
Yeah, it's always good to show Coach Passarillo you're willing to run the ball, because he may end up with quite a few more than 19 carries as the years go on here.
So again, we'll do this every week, the top 2 from these two.
I like that. I love that, yeah. Top 2 from these 2. We get some merchandise, start marketing that.
Yeah, we could use a sponsor on that if you want a sponsor. All right, let's talk about week 3. Matt Douglas, some interesting matchups. We'll talk about the WEOL schedule in a moment, but a couple of games that we won't have on the radio, but certainly we'll be following as far as the scores are concerned. Illyria coming off that win. They've got some momentum, 1-1. Going to Lorraine, Titans 0-2. So not only is this a huge rivalry game, but for Lorraine High, boy, they don't want to be 0-3.
No, they don't. For Illyria, though, they've gotten that monkey off their back. I think they can play a little more relaxed. I think that makes this a very dangerous team for Lorraine. They're not coming in nervous anymore. They know they can put together a complete game. They can pull out a victory. So the Lorraine Titans will be watching themselves certainly for that one. And for the Titans, we know that's a team that's not going to finish 0-4 on the season. They're going to get their victories. They want to get that monkey off their back now as they head into week 3. So you got 2 teams kind of approaching this one, I think, a little bit differently.
Yep, Illyria and Lorraine. And another big game this Friday night. Boy, keep your eyes on this one. We mentioned there are 5 teams in Lorraine County that are 2-0. 2 of those go up against one another this Friday night. Midview surprising at 2-0 with wins over Illyria and North Ridgeville, taking on an Amherst team that comes out of the blocks at 2-0. So those 2 teams will knock heads.
Yeah, conference game. Amherst has picked up their victories against Lakewood and Firelands. as you mentioned, they established that running game very well against Firelands, had a pretty solid passing game from my understanding as well. Makes them a dangerous team that can air it out or run it when they need to. It's going to be up to the Midview defense to find a way to slow that thing down, and we've seen Midview's offense in the past. Certainly they can work some kinks out, and they can put the ball into the end zone as well.
No doubt about it. And another game that we will have covered on the stream, on our mobile app and on WEOL.com Stream 2. Matt, you'll have the play-by-play, EC and Bay. This was a classic last year. Jared France with that touchdown grab for EC to win it. I think it's going to be a big Week 3 matchup.
Yeah, it's tough to script things that turn out the way that game did for EC last year. They had kind of started to turn things after an early loss to Mogadore in the season. Everyone was kind of questioning, is this Panthers team for real? And I think that was the game everyone stopped questioning that. It was a tremendous victory at the time. Bay was ranked 3rd in the state. Certainly, Coach Rutt doesn't forget about that, and his Bay Rockets are ready to go against the Panthers. They've started off the season. Tough loss in week number 2 to Buckeye, so you can bet they're chomping at the bit to get back on the field and kind of right the wrong that occurred to them last year, at least in their eyes. But EC, I'm intrigued to see this team live because I think they are very big, they're very fast, and now with a good passing game, they're very dangerous.
Yep. So again, Matt Douglas, we'll have the play-by-play for that one. WEOL.com, Stream 2, and on the mobile app. Well, let's get into our coverage as far as this Friday is concerned. On the radio side, we talked about 7 teams that are 0-2. Well, our radio game features 2 of those teams, as it will be Vermilion and Firelands. Huge rivalry game, and whoever wins that game is going to be very happy to get that first win of the year against their biggest rival.
Yeah, without a doubt. Look, it's a rivalry. Throw out records. They don't mean anything. That's when you see the really exceptional things happen on the field. Just who wants that bad enough? We're going to find out on Friday night, and I'm really looking forward to that one. My buddy Andy Bolt-Barch will have the call on that.
Absolutely. So that's our radio game, Vermilion and Firelands. We talked about Matt Douglas. He'll bring you Stream 2, as it'll be Illyria, Catholic, and Bay. That's on WEOL.com and on the mobile app. And then for those of you who are watching this down in the Medina County area, what a great Tri-C Medina County matchup.
Yeah, how about the Medina Battling Bees? Boy, they have been tremendous this season, starting off 0-2. Well, so have the Wadsworth Grizzlies. That's their matchup here in week number 3. 2 teams undefeated. 2 of Medina County's best teams, in my personal opinion. 2 big schools that know how to play football. This is going to be a slobber knocker.
Ooh, slobber knocker.
Had to bring it out for that one, Tim.
Had to come up with the slobber knocker. Yeah, WEOL's Chad Meyer will have the play-by-play of that one. He's texted me like 35 times already telling me how excited he is to do Medina and Wadsworth. Should be a great, great game. All right, so that's going to do it for this week's edition of The Blitz. Again, a joint production of AM 930 and FM 100.3 WEOL, as well as the Chronicle Telegram. Thank you to the CT's Bruce Bishop. Matt Douglas, thanks to you. Biggest thanks goes to you, the viewers. Let folks know about The Blitz. So thank you much for watching, and until we talk again next week, so long, everybody.